This is the first video in the series, Introduction to Python Programming. At the end of this series, you should be able to state the purpose of the following computer components: the CPU, memory, secondary memory, input devices, and output devices. You should understand the purpose of the Python interpreter, see the Python shell in action, and view some examples of how to use the Python prompt. First, let's turn our attention to the major components in computers. In this image, we have a lot of different pictures of things that are computers. Some things you would naturally think of as a computer, like a laptop or a desktop computer. You might think of a mainframe or a multi-core supercomputer as being a computer, but other things are computers too, like your phone or your tablet. All of these devices have some common components. They all have a CPU, main memory, input devices, output devices, and secondary memory. We're going to talk about each of these individual components and show you some examples. The first component we're looking at is the central processing unit, or CPU. You can think of this as the brain of the computer. It's the part of the computer that carries out all of the actions. Whenever you see computers advertised, you might see the CPU referred to as a chip, or the cores of the computer. You might have a multi-core computer. Having more cores means that your computer has the potential to process data more quickly. Additional cores mean that you can run multiple instructions at the same time. And being able to multitask like this makes your computer operate more quickly. This particular image shows a 4-core computer or quad-core computer. Having 4 cores means that the computer can carry out 4 different instructions or 4 different tasks all at the same time. And you can see the individual cores right here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And the core is just another word for the chip or the processor in the computer. It's the part of the electronics that carries out all the activities in the computer. Another part that's in every computer is the main memory. Sometimes the main memory is referred to as the RAM. RAM stands for Random Access Memory. It refers to the fact that data stored in memory can be accessed really quickly, no matter where it's stored in the memory itself. This allows the main memory to be really, really fast, which is important whenever you're carrying out the instructions in an application. It's the portion of the memory that the CPU directly interacts with. In this picture, you can see the CPU right here. That's the chip. It's like a little square. And then right next to it is the main memory. Main memory is always located really closely to the CPU, and that's what makes it fast. It's the part of the memory that stores information while it's being processed. So it's not long-term storage. It's not like where your photos are stored or where your Word documents that you've created in the past are stored. The main memory is the part of the memory that stores programs while they're active on your computer. So if you launch an application like Microsoft Word or Google Chrome, it will load that particular software into the main memory so that you can carry out the instructions by the CPU on your computer. One thing to know about main memory is that when the computer's turned off, all of the data that's in main memory is lost. So you can understand why that's not where your photos are stored. You wouldn't want to lose your photos every time you turn off your computer. You can get information about your particular computer's processor and memory by looking at the About page about your computer. So mine shows here that I have this processor, that's my CPU, and then I have this memory associated with my laptop. Let's look at secondary memory. That's another kind of memory, but secondary memory offers permanent storage. That's where you'll want to store your photos or the documents that you've created in the past. There's several different options. Some of them are inside your computer and some of them could be external to your computer. The internal options are called hard drives. You could have a mechanical hard drive or you could have a solid state device as your computer's hard drive. Both of them offer more permanent storage, and they're usually pretty large in modern computers. You can find out more details about what kind of storage you have. I can get to it in my About This Mac, and then if I click Storage, it tells me information about the kind of storage. It tells me that I have flash storage, which means that it's a solid state device, which means it's electronic circuits rather than mechanical components. To supplement the internal storage of computers, you can also purchase external hard drives, things like USB drives or an external hard drive. Those provide additional storage if you don't want to store something on your computer itself. You might want to use an external hard drive or a USB drive to create a backup storage plan for your computer. Or you might want to use them because they're portable. You can connect them through the USB drive or other connector on your computer, and then you can take them with you and use them with other devices. All of the secondary memory options provide permanent storage and let you store things long term. They do not require power to be connected in order to maintain their storage. Let's look now at input and output devices. These are likely things that you're already familiar with. Input devices are mechanisms for communicating data to the computer. They're ways that you provide input. So examples of input devices are things like a keyboard, a mouse, or a touch screen on your computer or your phone. Output devices are mechanisms where the computer communicates information back to you. Those can be things like the display screen on your phone or your laptop, or it could be something like a printer. When we're thinking about modern computers, they have all of these individual components. Every computer has these individual pieces associated with it. They always have input devices that allow you to put data into the computer. The computer itself always contains a CPU where the processing is carried out in circuitry, and the main memory, which is where it stores the programs that you're currently interacting with. It also has the potential to have secondary memory so that you can store things long-term, and output devices where you can display information to the user.